Liverpool fans, you won't believe this. Van Dijk makes a shocking FA Cup admission, Salah breaks a historic man-ut record, and Arne Slot has a challenge for wonderkid Rio Ngumoha. Let's dive in. Subscribe the channel for more latest updates. Virgil van Dijk makes FA Cup admission after Liverpool exact revenge on Wolves. Liverpool's defense of their Premier League title has fallen flat this season, and Virgil van Dijk has now confirmed that their focus has shifted away from the league itself this season. Virgil van Dijk believes silverware could rescue Liverpool from what has been a very difficult season. The Reds have endured a miserable campaign in the Premier League, with the reigning champions sitting 6th and already 19 points behind leaders Arsenal. But Liverpool could yet end the season with a trophy. Arne Slot's side are still in the Champions League and have been drawn to face Turkish giants Galatasaray, while they sealed their spot in the FA Cup quarter-finals with a win versus Wolves on Friday. Speaking about his side's performance, Captain Van Dijk added, "Very important. It was a very disappointing night on Tuesday and a very disappointing last 20 minutes of the game. We had to make something right here. The FA Cup is very important for us, as always, but especially this season. Hopefully, we can keep going." Asked what was different between Liverpool's performance compared to their defeat at Molineux just a few days earlier, Van Dijk added, "Easy to say when you win, but I think the pace we kept playing. There was a lot of 1v1 moments at the side. Rio was outstanding and made life difficult for their right wing back and center back at times. We kept pushing. The first goal changed the rest of the game. It opened up a little bit more, and then to score the second and the third, game over. And with Liverpool now just one win away from a Wembley semi-final, Van Dijk has revealed that the Reds are now putting all of their effort into claiming a trophy between now and the end of the season. He added, "To get silverware is always our aim. I've been very privileged to experience so many good nights winning silverware with this beautiful club. That's what we aim for. This season has obviously been very difficult for a lot of reasons, and I said it from day one that it was going to be a very difficult season. We're here now, we made progress, but obviously now we are not doing well and we have to take that in our process. That's what we did today. We played well, we won. On to the next game in the Champions League, and we'll focus on a very difficult game where our ears will be tested as well. But it's nice. It's an absolute blessing to be out there again, and hopefully we get a good result." Mo Salah has now scored more goals than any Man United player ever. Mohamed Salah has found some much-needed goal-scoring form, with his strike against Wolves proving to be memorable for one significant reason. There is no denying that Salah's performances this season have been a pale imitation of those produced in the past. Now 33 years old, age has caught up with one of Liverpool's greatest ever players, with a yard of pace disappearing from his game. That's not to say that Salah isn't still a force on his day, though, and he has scored twice this week, once on each trip to Molineux. He put Liverpool 2-0 up on Friday evening, in what was his 254th goal for the Reds, and it created a delightful little piece of history. Salah's strike means he has now scored more times for the Reds than any Man United player ever, with the Egyptian king overtaking Wayne Rooney's tally of 253. The Liverpool legend has achieved this feat in 432 appearances, whereas Rooney got to his in 559, a total of 127 games more. It means Salah is also ahead of other United icons such as Bobby Charlton, 245, Dennis Law, 237, and George Best, 179, highlighting his status as a great of the game. It feels increasingly likely that Salah will leave Liverpool this summer, meaning he will depart as the third highest scorer in the club's history. He is 31 goals adrift of second-place Roger Hunt, so only seeing out his contract until 2027 will give him a slim chance of catching him. But Ian Rush's mammoth, unrivaled tally of 346 may never be beaten by anyone. Salah has averaged a goal every 1.7 games for Liverpool, though, which is superior to both Hunt, 1.73, and Rush, 1.91. Mo Salah not the force of old, but harshly treated. As mentioned, Salah has fallen well short of the level expected of him this season, but some of the criticism coming his way has felt harsh. He has endured his first genuine, lengthy blip for Liverpool in nearly 9 years there, and at 33, he is past the peak age for a footballer. Salah has still managed to bag 16 goal contributions in 31 appearances in a struggling Reds side, 9 goals and 7 assists, which is far from a poor total. In comparison, Arsenal's much-lauded Bukayo Saka has 14 in 37 matches, in a team who are attempting to win an unprecedented quadruple. Salah has set such a high bar that it works against him, so when he falls below his legendary standards, it feels like a disaster. The reality is that he is still producing in the final third, albeit far less regularly, and he will be a key man for Liverpool between now and May. A summer departure for Salah feels like the sensible outcome for all parties. Everyone may only truly appreciate him when he is gone. Arne Slot sends Mohamed Salah challenge to Liverpool wonderkid Rio Ngumoha. Liverpool got revenge for their midweek defeat against Wolves by beating their Premier League rivals in the FA Cup 5th round, with youngster Rio Ngumoha having been given an opportunity. Rio Ngumoha has been told to follow in Mohamed Salah's footsteps following his brilliant performance versus Wolves. The 17-year-old was given an opportunity at Molineux on Friday and turned in a man-of-the-match performance as the Reds won 3-1 and secured a spot in the quarter-finals. It was the teenager's 19th appearance in all competitions this season, having burst onto the scene with a stunning winner against Newcastle earlier this term. Slot was full of praise for Ngumoha and his performance, but urged the youngster to ensure he tries to match Salah's dedication and output. He said, "A player that, as we know, because we weren't seeing him for the first time, he is able to beat his man in 1v1 situations. That is something you don't see a lot in modern football, so good performance from him. That is special if you are 17 years old and you can impact a Premier League game. I know it is an FA Cup game, but 2 Premier League sides. In this manner, that shows that he has a lot of qualities." On the other side, there is a player, Mo Salah, who he needs to take the example of. Being a good player is not so difficult, but being a good player every 3 days over a long period of time is something we are going to work on with him to ensure he can get to those levels. Slot was also full of praise of Ngumoha during his post-match press conference. The Dutchman added, "Good. I think it's special if you're a 17-year-old and you play in a Premier League match. I know it's an FA Cup match, but 2 Premier League sides playing against each other. If you're then able already to impact it with some very good 1v1 situations, that is also what makes him special, because there are not many players in the modern football that can take 1v1s on. That's something he can. He also, in my opinion, did better than 3 days ago, because he kept the ball more. 3 days ago, he lost it a few times as well, so 3 days ago, he also had his impact with his actions. Today, he had it as well, but was even better in moments where he had to keep the ball. It's a nice game because you face 5 defenders. For a winger, you only have to go to one of the 3 center backs, or defensively, you don't have to do as much as when you face 4 defenders. It was also a nice moment for him to use all his energy for the attacking part and not having to defend as much as when you have to do that when you play against the 4 at the back. Rio Ngumoha isn't carrying the weight of Liverpool history. Good or bad, he is ready. Ian Doyle, with the Liverpool verdict from the FA Cup 5th round clash at Wolves on Friday evening, things old and something new ensured Arne Slot wasn't left feeling blue at the end of another testing week for Liverpool. And while veteran campaigners Andy Robertson and Mohamed Salah ultimately steered the Reds on course for the FA Cup quarter-finals, it was 17-year-old Rio Ngumoha who was the catalyst for a victory that will give Liverpool renewed hope a difficult season can still end with silverware. The genie is now very much out of the bottle. Regards, Ngumoha. Slot surely no longer able to hold back the winger from continuing the progress that saw him the Reds' stellar performer as they responded to Tuesday's shock Premier League loss at rock-bottom Wolves. From his very first involvement, there was a sense of excitement and urgency that was sorely lacking from much of Liverpool's efforts at Molineux 3 days earlier. It helps that Ngumoha isn't carrying the weight of history, whether recent or seasons past, that has so impacted Slot's side, at least mentally, for much of this campaign. His performance lifted not only the traveling cop, but also his teammates, who fed off his infectious enthusiasm. Whisper it quietly, but the second half was almost enjoyable to watch. Don't forget, this was only Ngumoha's 5th career start, and more must surely now soon follow on this evidence. He is ready. This victory, though, was earned by the impact of one old hand in particular. Robertson has seen himself nudged out of the first-choice left-back position by Milos Kerkez and was close to leaving in January as Tottenham Hotspur came calling. Starts have remained limited in recent months, but Robertson's professionalism and desire to make the most of such opportunities saw him thump in the opener 6 minutes into the second half and, 95 seconds later, invite Salah to double the lead from a low cross. With Liverpool hoping for a busy end-of-season schedule, Slot will be compelled to rely more heavily on rotation. Robertson and other fringe players have an important role, and all stepped up here. Curtis Jones capped an encouraging performance in the number 10 role with a superb solo strike, while Joe Gomez was comfortable when making a rare start at centre-back alongside skipper Virgil van Dijk. Although it wasn't ideal, it meant Dominik Szoboszlai was compelled to reprise his makeshift right-back role. There were other positives. Florian Wirtz made a welcome return from injury with a second-half substitute appearance, and Jeremy Frimpong was very lively in his similar cameo. However, Salah was again fitful at best in general play, but Liverpool will hope a second goal inside 3 days further bolsters the Egyptian's confidence. Notably, both came from him having drifted into central positions. Liverpool's labored opening 3 days earlier once again shone a focus on their propensity for starting games slowly, particularly away from Anfield, having scored only 3 first-half goals on the road in the Premier League this season, with 2 of those coming in additional time. The Reds, though, were keen to respond to their damaging midweek loss, and began strongly with the exciting Ngumoha causing plenty of problems down the left flank with clever footwork and pace. In his best opening of the half, the teenager warmed the palms of Wolves keeper Sam Johnstone after being found in the area by Cody Gakpo, with Alexis Mac Allister having already had 1 shot saved. As on Tuesday, Wolves set out their stall with a blanket 5-man defense and terrier-like midfield trio that was quite happy to let Liverpool have the ball with the intent of pouncing on the counter-attack. In truth, there was precious little threat from the home team. But while Liverpool dominated possession before the break, they were restricted to pot shots from range with Mac Allister, Ryan Gravenberch, and even Gomez trying their luck with expected results. But the game changed completely with 2 goals in as many minutes with Robertson pivotal in both. The first, on 51 minutes, came from a Liverpool break with Gakpo's pass feeding Salah to sprint into the area. The ball was moved across to Jones and then into the path of Robertson, who struck a first-time shot into the far bottom corner from 22 yards. Robertson then turned creator when, played down the left by Ngumoha, his low cross was converted at the far post by Salah, whose effort stood after a VAR check, having initially been flagged offside. Liverpool made the game safe with 16 minutes remaining when Jones accepted a pass from Gravenberch and cut across field before curling an excellent effort into the bottom corner from the edge of the area. There will be disappointment at the leaking of yet another injury-time goal as Wolves registered a consolation when substitute Hee Chan Huang raced through onto long ball to score. But it would be wrong to be overcritical on an evening when Slot and his players responded in the right manner to the questions that were rightly being asked in the wake of Tuesday's debacle. The sounds of Wembley, Wembley booming out from the away end spoke volumes. Liverpool are now just 1 step away from a return to Anfield South. Trent Alexander-Arnold dealt brutal verdict by Spanish media as Jurgen Klopp blamed Trent Alexander-Arnold had a tough evening, despite Real Madrid winning in Vigo on Friday. Things continue to prove difficult for Trent Alexander-Arnold despite his Real Madrid team clinching a last-minute victory at Celta Vigo on Friday. The ex-Liverpool defender was among those targeted for criticism in the Spanish press, with Fede Valverde's late winner for Los Blancos doing little to dampen that criticism. Aurelien Tchouaméni put Madrid ahead early on following a neat corner routine, only for Borja Iglesias to level the score when Williot Swedberg made Alexander-Arnold look ordinary before feeding his teammate. The right-back was found wanting again as Iago Aspas came within a whisker of putting the hosts ahead, but ultimately Valverde's deflected shot shattered Celta hearts deep into extra time as the hosts appealed in vain for a foul on Fer Lopez. There was a more positive contribution from Alexander-Arnold at 0-0 when his perfectly weighted pass from deep found Vinicius Jr. The forward's attempt rebounded off the post, though, and the through ball was swiftly forgotten. With Madrid facing Manchester City in the Champions League round of 16 on Wednesday, some media outlets voiced concern, not just about their new right-back, with the feeling that another lackluster performance would be penalized more harshly. However, in criticizing the summer signing, some provided a reminder of former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp's use of the player at Anfield. Marca. "Don't be shocked by Alexander-Arnold. He's always been like this," Marca said in their write-up. Klopp said it himself right after leaving Liverpool. "I just failed to teach him how to defend." Anyone who regularly watches Liverpool knows that Trent isn't exactly a defensive hound. His strength lies in pushing forward and distributing the ball with his exquisite passing. But defending? Forget it. As was proven once again with Celta's first goal. The only question is whether he doesn't know how or simply doesn't want to. So if you're a Real Madrid fan, don't get angry with the English fullback if you don't like his defensive performances. If anything, be angry with whoever signed him. Klopp did actually defend Alexander-Arnold's defensive strength during his time at Anfield. However, some shortcomings were on show at times in England as well as in Spain. Sport. Alexander-Arnold received a poor rating of 3 out of 10 when Sport assessed Madrid's players. Trent's situation is very worrying, the publication said when focusing on the 27-year-old. The Englishman is a problem in defense for Real Madrid, as demonstrated by Celta's first goal. He was very weak defensively and completely outmatched in every aspect of the game. To make matters worse, he's lost what little he contributed in attack. If Carvajal recovers somewhat, he'll be back in the starting lineup. Mundo Deportivo. It was a comparable narrative in Mundo Deportivo, who emphasized it wasn't the first occasion the right-back has been found lacking this term. Alexander-Arnold is merely a few months into his 6-year contract at the Bernabeu, but some expected him to deliver more by now, regardless of injury issues making it a stop-start campaign. Tchouaméni gave Real Madrid an early lead, but Celta Vigo quickly equalized through Borja Iglesias, in a move that once again exposed Trent Alexander-Arnold's shortcomings this season, they wrote. The English right-back, a shadow of his former self at Liverpool, arrived at Real Madrid with the reputation of a superstar, but as a Real Madrid player, he's a complete flop. Trent's lack of motivation, sluggishness, and poor positioning for the 1-1 equalizer were appalling. Swedberg had free rein over him before laying the ball off to Borja Iglesias, who fired past Courtois, once again the best player on his team, Cadena SR. The coverage at Cadena SER made for even more painful reading for Alexander-Arnold. However, the publication did at least recognize his contribution to the opening goal. It's clear that Trent Alexander-Arnold's adaptation to Real Madrid has been difficult. But in the few minutes he's played this season, due to injuries, he's already made headlines. The publication's write-up read, "The Englishman proved to be one of the best right-backs in the world at Liverpool, but his strengths aren't the typical ones associated with the position." Cadena SER also highlighted the scathing assessment on commentary, most notably from Carrusel Deportivo's Antonio Romero. "He can't win a single duel," Romero said. "I have no problem with the lad. It's obvious Trent has a good touch. It's obvious he delivers brilliant crosses. But at right back, he's a disaster. He doesn't use his body. He doesn't intercept. He doesn't sprint. He doesn't press. He doesn't play the offside trap." Over at AS, there was an acknowledgement the attacking qualities displayed by Alexander-Arnold, both in the build-up to Tchouaméni's opener and Vinicius's strike against the woodwork moments before. Nevertheless, they also couldn't ignore his defensive frailties after they were exposed in the first half. Williat, a recurring nightmare for Real Madrid, fought for a ball on the right. Trent, alarmingly, lost the challenge and the physical battle, failing to close down the Swede and allowing him to gift Borja Iglesias the goal, they reported. A goal of shared authorship, another yellow card for the Englishman, a good winger, a poor full-back, their assessment concluded. Whether Alexander-Arnold retains his position when City arrive on Wednesday remains uncertain. Richard Hughes will be pulling his hair out at enormous Liverpool blow. Richard Hughes will be incensed after a new transfer report hands Liverpool a double blow. Bild is now reporting that Nico Schlotterbeck could remain with Borussia Dortmund. The centre-back is heading towards the final year of his contract and widely reported to be leaving the club, but it seems he could actually stay. Dortmund are eager to hold on to their star and will make him a very good offer, potentially with a release clause in there. It would be a blow to Real Madrid, who want to sign Schlotterbeck this summer. They would turn their attention to Ibrahima Konate, should the German stay put. Konate, of course, is out of contract at Liverpool this summer. Nico Schlotterbeck. Situation summary. Contractual status and imminent deadline. As of 6 March 2026, Nico Schlotterbeck's future at Borussia Dortmund is approaching a decisive moment. The 26-year-old's current contract is set to expire on 30th June 2027, and he has yet to agree to an extension despite Dortmund offering a lucrative new deal worth approximately $8 million, 6.8 million per year until 2030. Reports from Bild and Sport Bild indicate that a final meeting between the player, his representatives, and the entire Dortmund hierarchy is scheduled for mid-March before the upcoming international break. If Schlotterbeck does not commit to fresh terms during this summit, Dortmund have reportedly decided they will sanction a sale this summer to avoid his value depreciating. Transfer battle: Real Madrid versus Liverpool. The uncertainty surrounding Schlotterbeck has sparked a high-profile pursuit from two of Europe's elite clubs. Real Madrid are currently viewed as the frontrunners, with reports from OneFootball and AS suggesting the Spanish giants are in pole position due to their strong boardroom relationship with Dortmund. Real Madrid have identified him as a priority to refresh a defensive line featuring David Alaba and Antonio Rudiger, who are entering the final stages of their careers. Liverpool also remain heavily involved. Journalist Fabrizio Romano confirmed on 6 March that while Real Madrid sent scouts to watch Schlotterbeck in the recent Der Klassiker against Bayern Munich, no formal bid has been made by any party. Liverpool view the German international as an ideal left-footed successor to Virgil van Dijk, and the club has reportedly held encouraging preliminary talks with the players' camp. Recent form and performance metrics. Schlotterbeck remains a cornerstone of the Dortmund defense, though the team has suffered recent setbacks, including a heavy Champions League exit against Atalanta in February. He was a standout performer in the 3-2 defeat to Bayern Munich on 28 February, where he scored the opening goal. Statistically, he has recorded 4 goals and 1 assist in 18 Bundesliga appearances this season. According to FOTMOB, he maintains an average performance rating of 7.56 for the 2025-26 Bundesliga campaign, ranking him amongst the top-performing center-backs in the division. His aerial dominance and ball-playing ability remain his primary assets, as evidenced by a 90.6% passing accuracy in Champions League fixtures this season. Future outlook. The outcome of the mid-March meeting will dictate whether Schlotterbeck becomes the most sought-after defender of the 2026 summer window. Dortmund are expected to demand a fee in the region of $50 million to $60 million, 43 iners 51 millimeter, should he decline the extension. While the player has publicly stated he feels comfortable in Dortmund, his desire to consistently challenge for major honors, coupled with Dortmund's early European exit, has fueled speculation that a move to the Bernabeu or Anfield is increasingly likely. Analysis. This would be a massive blow to Richard Hughes. For one, he's been in talks with Konate for around 18 months now, but hasn't been able to get him to renew his contract. Real Madrid getting back involved would make it near impossible to renew that deal. Even worse, Schlotterbeck would be off the table as a potential replacement. Schlotterbeck is one of the best possible alternatives this summer, maybe the best. Now Liverpool may have neither. Massive update shared on Liverpool target, who is one of the best in Europe. Liverpool have a lot of changes that need to be made this summer. They're currently sitting outside of the top 4 spots in the Premier League, with Arne Slot and his men coming under some major scrutiny. Fans were begging for new faces to be brought in during the winter transfer window, with both Marc Guéhi and Antoine Semenyo mentioned as potential targets. However, since Manchester City prized them both away, Slot has been left with a lack of depth and a lot of problems. So with this in mind, it's hardly surprising to see the rumor mill going into overdrive about what Liverpool could do next. Liverpool are not interested in signing Bayern Munich's Konrad Laimer. Liverpool's defense has been one of the main talking points to emerge from Anfield since the 2025-26 season kicked off. It was clear that the Anfield outfit didn't have enough reliable depth among their ranks to get them through the campaign, but that didn't stop them from trying. To make matters worse, Giovanni Leone suffered a season-long injury, with Jeremy Frimpong and Connor Bradley spending more time on the treatment table than playing for their team. This severe lack of depth has caused many questions to arise, with rumors about Konrad Laimer's future being shared around, especially since negotiations about an extension with Bayern Munich have come to a halt. But, unfortunately for Liverpool, it seems like the links were nothing but mythical. That is, according to an update from Christian Falk, who shared that it is not true that Liverpool are concretely interested in the Austrian. The report goes on to say that many clubs see him as one of the best right-backs in Europe, so it's hardly surprising to see him being linked with moves away. However, since there have been many problems with his recent contract negotiations, the rumors aren't likely to die down anytime soon. Konrad Laimer would be a perfect transfer for Liverpool. Although Laimer has been turned into a right-back during his time with Bayern, he's actually a midfielder by trade. He's 28 years old, which is a bit older than most of the Reds' recent transfer targets, but the amount of experience he has under his belt is something that can't be looked over. The fact that he'd be able to cover multiple positions is also a massive bonus, especially with the sheer number of injuries that the Reds have suffered. His current contract runs until June 2027, so if an agreement can't be reached between Laimer and Bayern before it expires, a cut-rate deal could be on the cards. And, since Richard Hughes and Slot chose to spend over $450 million on new players last summer, a cheapish window could be exactly what the doctor ordered.